Weird Al Yankovic. Not sure if he really needs an introduction, but to make it brief, he's a musician that specializes in parody covers of popular songs, adding in his own absurd sense of humor. Sometimes he'd make his own songs with a similar sense of humor, or songs that are mashups of popular songs with a polka remix. He's been making music since the early 80s, and would sometimes branch out into other media to varying degrees of success. I've been a fan of Al for about a year now. When I listen to music, I don't listen to specific artists. I have a very abstract taste in music, let's just say. But Al is a rare exception. I love some of the songs I've heard. Today, however, if it wasn't obvious, we're not talking about his music. We're talking about his guest appearances in cartoons. You'd be shocked at how many guest appearances Al has made in various animated shows, whether he be voicing himself or a made-up character for whatever show he's in. Obviously, we won't go over all of them, but today I want to talk about a few. Only real ground rules is that Al's character has to play a pivotal role in an episode, and can't just be a cameo. This other rule should be more obvious, is that Al can't play a main character of a show, Milo Murphy for example, Al voices the titular character, and can only show up in a few episodes per show. Other than that, just about anything is fair game. So in no particular order, let's dive into the weird world of Al Yankovic episodes.
Want to see a magic trick? Good. Abracadabra!
Kicking things off is an episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I definitely remember watching this show and enjoying it as a kid, but dropped out of the show only a few episodes in the first season. So given that's a season 2 episode, this one's definitely new to me. It's about Star and her friend Marco attending a friend's birthday party, Sensei. There's also a magician at the party, Al's character Preston Changeo. This is Star's first exposure to fake Earth magic tricks. Star believes it gets real at first, but then she sees Preston actually use real magic to absorb the happiness from the party guests, this leaving Star suspicious. The story of a new character being introduced doing really suspicious things, and one character trying to expose the new character, with the others calling them out for it, has been done before. And this episode is no different. Even after Preston was exposed, everyone was still mad at Star, because when Star told Preston to tell everyone the truth, not only does Preston say he's been sucking people's joy throughout the episode, but that his magic acts were fake. And like I said, everyone seems to be more mad about that than their joy being sucked. I gotta ask, are the background characters in Star vs. this douchey, or was this potentially a result of their joy being sucked? Anyway, despite this, Preston never really had any ill intentions. Sucking joy is something he naturally does, as he's an interdimensional being called the Joy Sucker. Wonder if we'll learn more about those in the show at some point. A pretty alright episode overall. I like how Al does a scratchier voice for Preston.
Alright, everybody, watch the rings.
That's not magic! There's a gap in one of those rings. I saw it on TV.
Oh, you do magic, do you? You don't wash behind your ears. Preston Changeo!
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some first-time viewers didn't know that was Al until research. He could be a genuinely good actor. I also kind of like Sensei. He had some pretty funny moments. And I do like how he was somewhat glad Star interfered, so he wouldn't have all of his joy sucked, showing that Star still kind of did the right thing. All in all, not a bad way to start the video. But there are better episodes to come.
My finger can transform. Guess which one? I'll give you a limited option.
I'm not a Transformers fan. Let's just get that out of the way. I never watched any of the shows, never watched any of the movies. That's probably for the best if we're talking about the Michael Bay ones. I did watch Transformers 1 though, that was really good. As a kid I had some toys, like an Optimus Prime Happy Meal toy, and a sword I got from that huge Toys R Us at New York, but I'm getting off track. Despite that, I never indulged in any other Transformers media. So this episode of Transformers Animated is the only other piece of the franchise I've consumed aside from the recent movie. This episode involves the city of Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No! No!
Being filled with trash, mainly due to the malfunctioning trash bots. So this guy, who I'm just gonna call Doug Dimmadome, invents microbots to reduce the city's trash, and he plans on selling it for crazy prices. Meanwhile, our main team of Transformers, consisting of Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, an ambulance Transformer named Ratchet, 2 other Transformers I don't know the names of, and a black girl voiced by Tara Strong, are dealing with a boat of trash, saying this would help the humans trust them again after something, I don't know. This bit also establishes Ratchet has to learn to control his temper, with Tara and Bee having to help him with that. Anyway, about Al's character. He plays a garbage truck transformer called Wreck-Gar. He spawned in the garbage boat, implying it was Tara's Allspark necklace thingy that brought him to life. Wreck-Gar doesn't know who he is, so he asks some cops. I think Wreck-Gar is a somewhat endearing character. We see him naively take orders from anyone he comes across. For instance, he meets this crook the cops are trying to catch, who also sounds like the Earthworm Jim narrator.
Not tools, jewels!
Okay.
Those are spools, I want jewels. Do you know those sparkly things?
A mighty hero and his latest sidekick search the mountain of nameless dread.
Tara, Bumblebee, and Ratchet show up on their way to escort a pregnant chick to a hospital and say they have to catch the crook, so Wreck-Gar chases the crook even after he started working for him. Once he stops the crook, he also throws him in the air to literally catch the crook. Yeah, he also tends to misunderstand shit people say, and it can be pretty enjoyable to watch. When Wreck-Gar threw the crook, the microbots established earlier that the crook got from the truck fall into Wreck-Gar's garbage pouch on his back. At some point, Wreck-Gar runs into the Decepticons and starts blindly taking orders from them, eventually leading to Wreck-Gar about to run a boat full of microbots into the city, with Doug Dimmadum about to present his creation to the mayor.
You wouldn't dare do something that stupid!
I am Wreck-Gar! I dare to be stupid!
I understood that reference.
In order to save the day, Ratchet tells Wreck-Gar that he can make his own decisions instead of letting others do so for him, and he ends up saving the day. Another okay episode. I like Wreck-Gar as a character, and the message was decent, even if it didn't come off in the most profound way.
Cracker.
Ah, Word Girl. Not only did I watch this as a kid, but there was a brief time in 2022 where lots of people were hyping it up, posting clips on YouTube and making memes and stuff. For good reason too, the show is a lot more witty and charming than you expect from a PBS Kids show. Anyway, this is a first for this video, but Al actually showed up in more than one episode of the show. 3 in particular. His first appearance was in the season 4 episode, The Learner. Al voicing the title character. The Learner is a supervillain who observes situations in order to plan his crimes. For example, here he uses a ball to set off a bunch of traps guarding a crystal brain. Knowing what he has to avoid, Learner comes back, passing all the traps and sealing the brain with ease. I really like the idea for the guy, kinda reminds me of Taskmaster. I also like how Learner tends to add an extra suffix to certain words. It's a fun running gimmick with him.
I am the learner.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Well, your name should be the learner, not the learnerer.
Are you telling Amy what my name should be?
Not too much to say about the episode's main plot. It's about Becky, Word Girl's alter ego, being forced by her mom to attend a Word Girl meeting hosted by her younger brother, who's a huge Word Girl fan. And eventually the learner gets roped into the meeting when one of the other members gets the crystal brain dropped in his backpack by mistake. Not a bad episode. The learner returns in the very next season, where he partners with another villain, the Amazing Rope Guy, who to my knowledge is this show's Toilinator or Amoeba Boys. That one villain is just really pathetic and none of the other characters take seriously. The learner has Rope Guy rob different places so he can watch in the background and get an idea on how the security works there. This definitely feels like something he'd do, I like it. Word Girl eventually catches wind of this and eventually gets into a fight with the learner. I love the way Word Girl beats him. She remembers that Learner studies all of her abilities, making the fight more challenging, until she decides to let Learner attack first, in which they both realize he never managed to learn any proper fighting moves. That's clever. A bit unrelated, but the learner does the sponge too. That's very funny. As for the third episode, this was actually the penultimate episode of the entire series, obviously making this the learner's last appearance in the entire show. The episode is about Becky having trouble understanding the appeal and importance of art, unlike her best friend Violet, who's obsessed with it. Then a bunch of art pieces start to go missing, which of course really upsets Violet. I like how Becky still goes after the stolen art, not just because it's the right thing to do, but to make Violet feel better. That's very sweet. Word Girl eventually runs into the art thief, the learner, who's also wondering about the appeal of art. To better understand this, he makes a machine that'll crush up certain pieces so he can analyze them. As Word Girl tries to stop him, she and Learner realize what art is all about: self-expression and passion. Not a bad episode for Learner's last major appearance, with a nice message. Interestingly enough, Learner actually takes off his mask, even if we don't get to see his real face. Learner was a pretty fun villain. I kinda wish the show used him more often. Granted, Al was probably a bit too expensive to get for multiple episodes, so if they wanted him to stick around more, they'd probably have to get someone cheaper. But then again, Toby shows up more often, and he's voiced by Patton Oswalt, so...
Zoinks! 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 Zoinks!
I'm sure we all know Scooby-Doo has had a shit ton of different shows over the years, but there was one in particular that had a major gimmick, where there would be a guest star each episode that would go involved in whatever mystery the gang got into. The guest stars themselves would vary from actors, athletes, singers, fictional characters, even the voice actors of Mystery Inc. at one point. At first I thought the show came out like a decade ago, but it's actually pretty recent, coming out in 2019 and ending in 2021, probably to make room for... that. Obviously the episode we're talking about today is one where the gang met Weird Al. In this episode, Al runs a camp dedicated to learning accordion. However, there's a dinosaur terrorizing the place and scaring off the campers, ruining Al's business. Mystery Inc. shows up and investigates further. What follows is a standard Scooby-Doo mystery with your silly chase scenes and traps and whatnot. The owl in this episode has definitely been exaggerated to fit within this universe. He's constantly singing whenever the gang is searching for clues and being chased, and the very idea of him having an accordion camp is pretty humorous. I also like some of the interactions Al has with Scooby and Shaggy. It was cute seeing Al teach Scooby to play accordion, even if Scooby wasn't exactly cut out for it. I like this bit where Al is impressed by Shaggy's accordion skills. All in all, nothing groundbreaking, but it's a cute episode. Don't have a lot to say about this one.
You have gone too far. Prepare to die, Omnima.
Uncle Grandpa, used to watch it. He still is your favorite anime. Yeah, I don't have much of an intro for this one. This episode opens with the RV Uncle Grandpa and his friends live in starts to act weird. Well, weirder than usual. Uncle Grandpa decides to use a robot called the Palobot, Weird Al's character, to reduce the weird shit. Palo's been there the whole time, but they're only using it now. As Palo's fixing the weird shit, the gang go out, only to come back to their RV being turned normal. Palo even turned Uncle Grandpa and his friends into his idea of normal. So this character voiced by Weird Al Yankovic, and he wants everything to be normal. Don't know if that was intentional or not. I will say, I do like how Uncle Grandpa and his friends actually like how weird the RV is, and just being weird in general. I admire how they take pride in that shit. So after doing some weird shit in front of Palo, very fun creative sequence by the way, Palo gives in and takes on a new persona, Weird Pal. The gang cleans up the RV to a song, and that's about it. So this episode was pretty good.
Someone's daddy didn't get him a pony for his sweet 16th.
Okay, for starters, I know the world of My Little Pony has these cutesy, over-the-top names for their pony characters, but it blows my mind that some parents were perfectly okay with naming their child Cheese Sandwich. Like, they don't even do anything creative with the cheese part. It's just Cheese Sandwich. Like, what's up with that? Anywho, the episode opens with Pinkie Pie getting ready to plan a party for Rainbow Dash. It's not only Dash's birthday, but it's also the day she moved to Ponyville. That's when Cheese shows up. Cheese is also a party planner, but he wanders around going to different cities and stuff doing so. One fun little musical number later, and everyone in town falls in love with Cheese. And he ends up helping with the party, leaving Pinkie to feel left out and without a purpose in town. I think it could have been easy to make Pinkie a bitter asshole about Cheese, but no, she's just insecure that Cheese can potentially do what she does, but better. It's not hard to understand why she's so upset. Pinkie decides to challenge Cheese to a goof-off, a contest where they do a bunch of silly shit, and whichever the judge, Rainbow Dash, likes more, gets to plan the party. The goof-off sequence is pretty fun, mainly because the song that plays reminds me of Al's Polka remix it. Oh right, this episode's a musical. Yeah, the other songs are fine, I guess. Pinkie notices Dash isn't enjoying the goof-off and decides to just let Cheese host the party and leave Ponyville. However, the others tell Pinkie that they never wanted Cheese to replace her, and that she's still Ponyville's main party planner. Cheese shows up and apologizes for making Pinkie feel so insecure. Much like with Pinkie, I think it would have been easy to make Cheese a douchey rival, but he never really had any ill intentions coming to Ponyville. He just wanted to go around, plan parties, and make people happy, only doing so in different places. Cheese then shares his backstory.
Actually, no, I tell a lie. He doesn't talk about it, he sings about it.
Saying he was a shy introvert until he stumbled across a party hosted by a young Pinkie Pie. That's what inspired Cheese to do what he does today. In the end, both Cheese and Pinkie get to host Dash's party. Cheese gives Pinkie one of his rubber chickens that has a shine go across it that totally does imply it'll be important later on in the season, and Cheese leaves for his next party to host, wherever he's needed. This is definitely one of the best episodes in this video. Just a fun, wholesome episode that has a nice message for Pinkie, saying that people will have similar hobbies and traits to you, but if said hobbies make you happy, then that's okay. Fast forward to the 9th and final season of the show, Cheese makes his second major appearance. In this episode, Pinkie gets invited to see a gag factory Cheese is running. Pinkie also uses this opportunity to find her larger life purpose. Pinkie goes to the factory, only to see Cheese has forgotten how to laugh. So Pinkie spends the whole episode trying to get Cheese to laugh. Not much to say about this one really, it's definitely not as good as the last episode. I will say, Al does a good job playing the depressed Cheese, really showing he has range. I like how by the end, in order to make Cheese laugh again, he has to see others laughing. That's when he decides he's better off just wandering about, and hosting parties like he did before. That moment also where Pinkie learns that she doesn't need a bigger life's purpose. She can still have a good life doing what she does now. Before we get to the next show, there's something else I have to mention. In the very last episode, there's a time skip, where we see Twilight, the main character of the show, and her friends all grown up. And Pinkie's not only married to Cheese, but they also have a child. She fucked Weird Al!
Mama warned me about women like you. I was hoping she was right.
Much like the third Word Girl episode we went over, this episode was the second to last episode of Johnny Bravo, and the actual last episode, Johnny Meets Shaquille O'Neal. It's about Al being part of this group, dedicated to making cartoon characters more appealing to modern audiences. Well, modern for like 2004. This group also consists of Blue Falcon and Don Knotts. Okay, I understand what this episode's going for. It's meant to poke fun at other cartoons for wanting to change it to something they're not, in a cheap attempt to appeal to modern audiences. And there is some good mileage to come from this, like Johnny wearing square pants as a reference to Bob the Builder, or the skateboarding bit because early 2000s. But my main issue is this. Why exactly are two random celebrities and Blue Falcons the one trying to change the show? Is there something I'm missing? I just don't see what Al adds to this scenario, let alone Blue Falcon and Don Knotts. Maybe if they use actual cartoon characters who are notorious for having their shows changed, or parodies of said cartoon characters, or they just made up their own characters and one of them is voiced by Weird Al, then maybe I would have liked this a little better. But as it is, it's definitely not a bad episode, but that one thing kind of brings it down for me. It's an episode of Teen Titans Go, so it sucks. Next! The episode opens up with Robin pointing out this is a two-part special. It's a running joke throughout, and it gets very old after a while. In order for the episode to feel more special, the Titans go to the Hall of Justice to use their fountain as a pool. Cyborg is not approving of this, as he's always dreamed of joining the Justice League. I do like how this episode uses that to reference the fact that there were times Cyborg was a part of the Justice League. Hell, I've known this for a while. Eventually, after the Titans attempted to ding-dong ditch the League, they break into the place and run into a security bot trying to kill them. In order to trick the robot, the Titans put on the uniforms of the Justice League. Robin in a Batman uniform, Beast Boy as Martian Manhunter, Starfire as the Flash, Raven as Wonder Woman, and Cyborg as Green Lantern. The attempt to stop the robot fails, as Cyborg is not sure which Green Lantern he is, referencing the fact that there are multiple Green Lanterns. So in order to fight back, Cyborg uses his ring to summon the Golden Girls. Yeah, that's another running gag, where Cyborg uses the ring to summon the Golden Girls. It's just a reference to the Golden Girls. There's really no other joke surrounding it. Also, that reminds me, why didn't the Titans just fight off the robot earlier? Cyborg clearly has no problem doing it now. Anyway, the Titans are learning that DC Big Bad Darkseid has captured the Justice League, so the Titans have to travel to Apokolips, Darkseid's own planet, to save them. Once they meet Darkseid, they give him some medicine for his throat, after hearing his deep voice. And that's when Weird Al comes in, voicing Darkseid. Dude, you literally just said you weren't gonna talk about episodes where Al only has a cameo. Okay, who the fuck even are you? I'm your evil twin with the nasally voice. Wait, you're my evil twin? I masturbate to the sounds of people chewing with their mouths open. Oh dear God, you are my evil twin. I fucking hate Weird Al. Alright, yeah, we get it, we get it. Anyway, to address what my clone said, I know Darkseid doesn't really show up much in this episode, but he is still the driving force for the second half of the episode, so I think it counts to some extent. Anyway, the Titans also point out that Darkseid sounds like Al, and after hearing from the Titans that Al does parody covers, Darkseid believes Al is evil. After a fight, the Titans eventually defeat Darkseid, but one of the Justice League members falls into the lava. So Cyborg gets the idea to pull a Superman 78 and fly around the planet fast enough to reverse time, but he keeps letting certain League members die, or all of them in some instances. So he's constantly flying around the planet until they're fully saved. By far the funniest part of the episode. And the epilogue at the end is pretty wholesome too, where Cyborg is a Justice League member, and the other Titans, who are older, ding-dong ditch the Hall of Justice. I'm a bit mixed on this one, honestly. Some jokes don't really land, and it does drag a bit in the first half. Like, yeah, I get y'all acknowledge you have to fill time, but that doesn't change the fact that you're still filling time. But the episode does pick up steam a bit in the second half, and there were also some other bits that made me laugh. But yeah, probably one of the weaker episodes I'm talking about here.
Oh, banana.
Oh shit, I'm talking about Yonder again? Fuck yeah! If you've seen a past video of mine, you know that I adore this show. It's one of my favorites of all time. And I did talk a bit about this episode in said video, but now here I can go into a little more detail. Wander and Sylvia one day wake up to find out they've been pranked, with Sylvia's pillow being flattened and Wander's having a whoopee cushion. Wander immediately knows who was behind the prank, saying he was a dangerous villain. Normally Wander would want to try to be friends with whatever villain he meets, especially Lord Hater. Interestingly enough though, it's not the case here. Wander is taking this prank very seriously. For most of the episode, Wander takes up this Batman-esque persona as he's going around looking for clues. It's pretty fun. Eventually they find who they're looking for. Weird Al's character, Dr. Screwball Jones. What makes Jones an interesting villain is that he also wants to spread joy across the universe, much like Wander. But where Wander only encourages optimism and happiness, sometimes to an annoying degree, Dr. Screwball forces people to be happy. Where in this episode, he uses a tickle machine on a bunch of chickens, Lord Hater and Peepers, and eventually Sylvia. Much like the learner and Word Girl, I think they could have used this character more often, along with the other villains in the show actually. This culminates in a final confrontation with Wander and Screwball, where Screwball has an absolute banger of a villain song.
We'll make folks happy through the land, have them howling on their knees. So my little orange friend.
Wander and Sylvia break the machine and save the day once again. One of the best episodes I talked about in this video, and that may or may not be because of my Wander bias.
But I can change, I can change.
Now here's a deep cut. I bet a lot of you don't know what the 7D is. It's pretty much a different take on the 7 Dwarfs from Snow White. Don't get your hopes up, she's not in the show. To my knowledge, at least. They go on many adventures in their hometown Jollywood, often requested by the Queen. I remember the show being my first proper exposure to the Dwarfs as characters. With that said, this is the first time in years I'm watching the show. This episode in particular is about the show's main villains, the Glooms, visiting another villain voiced by Weird Al, the Shapeshifter. The next day, the Dwarfs, by the way, they're also called the 7D in this universe, but I'm calling them the Dwarfs because I don't really understand that, catch wind of the scheme when they see the Gloom steal shit from the mine. That's when Bashful becomes a spy. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, was there a previous episode about this or something? It's especially weird considering the fact that Bashful's the cowardly one. Anyway, if it wasn't obvious, this episode's a spy parody, poking fun at the genre's usual tropes, like the weapons dude showing off all his gadgets to the main spy, and the villain not leaving the room when they have the hero in the death trap. Thing is, I kinda wish the episode was longer. The pacing is a bit too fast, and the shapeshifter himself doesn't get a lot of screen time. He only really shapeshifts like twice in the entire episode. They never really utilize his powers that much. Not a horrible episode, I'm sure most of the other episodes are better, but again, I really think this could have benefited from being a 22-minute special, and not just a regular length episode. Moving on.
You just got Freddy Fazbear.
We Bare Bears is another Cartoon Network show I used to enjoy as a kid, and this episode I remember quite fondly. It was one of the episodes where the main trio of the show, Grizz, Panda, and Nice Bear, when they were kids trying to get adopted. And I guess these episodes are popular enough to get a whole series. Here they're at a carnival. We see a struggling game booth hosted by Al's character, Lewis. The bears then help Lewis by offering themselves as prizes, and they bring in a lot of money. Eventually the bears find out the game was a scam, with the bottles being glued together. When the bears discover this, Lewis holds Panda and Ice Bear against their will. Jesus, dude, these are living beings! Other than that, not much else to say. Grizz throws a ball into Lewis's nads, the bears leave, and Lewis is exposed as a fraud. I guess there are two other moments in this episode, involving a fortune-telling machine, where in those two moments, it pretty much predicts the bears' future, with them not getting adopted and living in a cave. Like I said, there's really not much to say about this one. Moving on.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
You know, I remember watching the first episode of Hailey's On a while back. While I like the premise of this girl having to complete her bucket list to save the future from an apocalypse, I never ended up watching the rest of the show. It does really suck that it was canceled after its first season and just removed off of Disney+. That freaking blows. And I do hope the people who worked on the show find other jobs, or have already found other jobs. This episode is about Hailey being suspicious of this recurring chip company in this universe, Dingles, using dogs to test their chips. Her friend Scott the Noga, by the way I should mention this, but kissing Scott is on her bucket list, and that's like a major part of the show, gets a prize to visit the Dingles factory. The factory is run by Dingle, a clear Willy Wonka parody. Despite that, they don't really do much with the parody aspect, aside from a chocolate room parody, with instead being a chip room, where Hailey and Scott investigate further and discover the dogs do paperwork in the factory. I do kind of wish they went a little further with the Willy Wonka stuff, parodying the other aspects of the story aside from the chocolate room. But you know, this episode kinda exists, I guess.
What time is it?
Time for you to shut up!
Yada yada yada, used to watch Adventure Time, haven't seen it in a while, Weird Al plays Banana Man. Yeah, I'm kinda running out of ideas for intros of these episodes. Anyway, the first episode premiering in season 3, we see Jake has a dream about being in space, with some banana guy. This dream is called a croak dream, some kind of dream that predicts the future or something, I don't know. Jake tells Finn this once he wakes up, and Finn gets worried that he might lose his best friend. They see Banana Man outside their treehouse and go follow him. Eventually they see the same spaceship in Jake's dream. Jake believes he has to go on it, with Finn trying to stop him. Not much to say about this one, Banana Man doesn't really do much here. Maybe other episodes do flesh out these croak dream things, but let's move on to the next two Banana Man episodes. This next one I should have a little more to talk about. It's about Finn bringing back a rundown truck, thinking he and Jake can use it. Banana Man comes along and offers to help fix it, seeing as he does know a lot about trucks. And for about half of the episode, they do in fact fix the truck. Then the episode just kind of loses focus a bit. Then it becomes about Banana Man wanting to impress some girl banana, and then it's about Princess Bubblegum, the princess of the Candy Kingdom, being replaced by a lizard? Like, I know that was foreshadowed earlier in the episode, but like, I don't know, this episode is a bit unfocused. As for the third episode, there's really not much to say either. Finn, Jake, and Banana Man get into some kind of ocean politics with this ocean society voting on a president or whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed by these episodes. Again though, I'm sure most episodes are better than these. I may have to rewatch the series in full at some point. With that said, there's only 2 episodes left. Let's see how this video ends.
That infinity sword, I will rule the universe!
You know, I remember Mighty Magiswords being a thing. I remember they had like shorts, but I never actually watched the full series. But it is kind of sad that people are only going to really know the show because the creator was a pedophile, so that's nice. Anyway, about the episode, Weird Al plays a Papa Smurf wannabe, and he goes to the main duo of the show, requesting them to get rid of these troll things eating up all the houses in their village, seeing as the houses are made from vegetables. And that's basically it in terms of story. But dear God, what is with the audio editing here? Okay, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like characters are constantly talking and there's constantly noise with no break. Like, look how this episode's edited.
Remember the time we helped some build a skating rink for hire?
Yeah, my Budicus is still sore from falling down all day.
Spare, you filthy beast!
Boulder Dash.
Electric eel Magisword.
It's weird, right? I guess this is a silly show and all, but even then you still have to chill the hell out every once in a while. The constant noise and stuff is gonna get annoying. Almost like the show's desperate for your attention. If there's anything I did like, the Papa Smurf wannabe was pretty funny with how aggressive he can be. And yeah, that's about it. This episode wasn't very good, and I don't think I'm going to be revisiting the series anytime soon. Fortunately though, we are ending this video on a bang. Balls. Like with a lot of these shows, I definitely remember watching and enjoying Gravity Falls as a kid, but I haven't seen it in a while. This episode, however, really encouraged me to revisit the show in full. At least sooner than I planned anyway. It's about Dipper wanting to play this Dungeons & Dragons parody, Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons, but no one in the Mystery Shack is really that interested, with his Grunkle Stan and sister Mabel making fun of the game for being nerdy. This episode does take place after Stan's brother, Ford Pines, returns from another dimension, and has mostly been staying in the basement. Eventually though, Ford does end up playing the game with Dipper, and it was pretty nice to see these two bond. I will also say this episode's pretty damn funny. Like, probably the funniest episode I've talked about.
Graph paper! Kill it! Kill it!
Anyway, at some point, Ford shows Dipper the infinity-sided dice he has, saying that pretty much anything could happen when it rolls. Later in the episode, the dice accidentally rolls, and it brings all the characters from the game to life, with Al playing the main wizard. Probabilitor, I think his name is. Probabilitor kidnaps Ford and Dipper, planning to eat their brains for their knowledge. I kinda like that idea for a villain. Stan, Mabel, and Mabel's friend eventually find them, and Probabilitor challenges them to a game of Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. And it's a really fun sequence. Not only is it creative, but seeing Mabel and Stan learn how to play the game was pretty cool. So Dipper and Ford are free and the day is saved. All in all, a very solid episode. Definitely one of the best I talked about in this video. And like I said, it's really encouraged me to revisit the series in full sooner than I expected. And that's all the episodes I wanted to talk about. I know I didn't have that much to say about certain episodes, and I found a good majority of them to be just okay. With that said though, I still enjoyed making this video, mainly watching through all these cartoons I haven't seen in a while, especially in such a randomized order. Some of these episodes show that Al is a genuinely good actor. Even if he gets cast as silly characters most of the time, most of them are distinct enough to allow for Al to show some range, and to not just play himself all the time. It's not hard to see why he has so many animated guest appearances, or certain people working on these shows are just fans of Weird Al. Either way, I'm not upset about this. Not in the slightest. I really hope he gets to appear in more cartoons in the future, whether it's a guest appearance or he plays a main character. Really don't have much to say for an outro here. The second Power Rangers video is coming. It's just gonna take longer than I expected. Thank you for your patience.
Power Rangers Turbo was the best season.
Oh, will you get the fuck out of here already?